Hold on it. Hold on, everyone. Let me get this thing public real quick before I start. And make sure my Facebook is public. I know. All right. Now I got it behind. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a long time since I've done this. Had a lot of stuff going on in our family. Had a lot of personal stuff going on, but we're back. But just want to touch a couple of bases. We really, the last time I did a show, we were just signing Arthur Smith as our coach, and Terry Faulkner hadn't became our GM yet. So, and of course, after New Orleans lost to who eventually would win the Super Bowl, Tampa Bay, um, we ended up getting Terry Faulkner as the Falcons' new GM. But I will touch on them in a little bit. I kind of want to start this off going into another sport, which I've been saying I was going to talk about. I don't know how many people's been watching it because the tournament is late at night. As you know, the Australian Open is going on, and sure, if a lot of you are my friends on Facebook, you see me talk a lot about Serena. But last night she had a very, very impressive win against Simona Halep, who's the number 2 player in the world. She beat her 6-3, 6-3 in straight sets. That was probably Serena's best match that she's played since she's been back from pregnancy. Serena still has a lot ahead of her. She is going to be playing Naomi Osaka, who I'm sure a lot of you remember beat her 2 years ago at the U.S. Open, who is also the number 3 player in the world as well. So it's going to be a tough semifinal. Serena actually came into this bracket. Her bracket has been pretty, pretty tough. Let's see. Hey, cousin, this is my cousin. If you are on YouTube, I would like for you to add her. She does a lot of different fishing episodes. She covered a lot of things on the lake. Definitely tune in to Pink Pond Princess if you're on YouTube. Uh, Also, let me shout out my Twitch followers that are going to get a chance to see my episode for the very first time. This is our first episode on Twitch. But as I was discussing, we Serena has been through a pretty tough bracket. She came into the tournament number 10 in the world. She went through the first 3 rounds pretty easy. She beat Laura Siegman in straight sets. She beat Dina Stojakovic in straight sets, and also Anastasia Potapova. However, her last 2 matches have been pretty, pretty tough, but she played well last night. She beat Ariana Sabalenka, who was number 7 in the world, in 3 sets. That was a very, very tough match for her. I think it also gave her confidence that she needed to get to this point. And she beat Simona Halep, who I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with. She is the number 2 player in the world. This is really her first time back because she didn't play the. I don't think she played the last 2 tournaments due to COVID, due to the concerns about COVID. Because the first tournament was at the U.S. Open in September. A lot of folks didn't travel over here, and the French Open was also another tournament. I don't think she played as well. But on the flip side, she has Naomi Osaka, who I'm gonna be honest with you. I want Serena to go ahead and get her 2 titles that she needs to be the all-time Grand Slam champion because Naomi Osaka is definitely growing in my heart. She's I'm a big fan of hers. She had a pretty smooth road to the except for the last round. She played Anastasia Polyvichenko, excuse me on these names. These names are tough. She beat Carolina Garcia in the second round. She beat Orange Jabeur in the third. She defeated Garbine Muguruza, who actually had her facing match point in the round of 16, but she ended up rallying and winning that match. And last night she beat Sewul Haisha 6-2, 6-2 was a pretty easy match for her. So I don't know who's going to win the semifinals. I want to see a very good match. Personally, I want to see Serena win that match because I want her to get 24. But Naomi Osaka is a very, very hard opponent for her. But I definitely wanted to touch on that. I will talk about the semifinals after it happens on Thursday. But just moving along, just to catch us up about the state of the Falcons right now. Um, Right now, the Falcons are getting ready for this offseason. As you know, we finished 4-12 in the regular season. We are the number 4 overall pick in the draft. And honestly, I don't know what we're going to do at number 4. The Falcons are in a very interesting spot. because the between the situation with the Falcons being number 4 in the draft, like I said, they're number 4 in the draft. So it's kind of tough to see what the Falcons are going to do at this point because a lot of fans are in. We're really in 3 different spots. If I'm going to be honest, give me a second. I want to make sure my comments are coming up. Okay, but we're in a tough spot, honestly speaking, because the Falcons. Most fans wants to take a quarterback. However, you got your fans that are saying go defense, go offensive line. You got a couple of different lanes that this team want to go in. Me personally speaking, right now, I want the Falcons to take a quarterback, but trade back. Because to be honest with you, we're number 4 in the draft, and we have way more needs than they want to put out here. And the Falcons cap situation is pretty bad. So although I'm not against taking the quarterback at 4, I wouldn't mind having a Justin Fields or a Zach Wilson at 4. But at the same time, I think that the Falcons also need to think about you got to kind of play in 2 different directions because the Falcons are going to have Matt Ryan and Julio Jones this year. Let me get that out of the way first and foremost. I know a lot of folks are saying, let's get what we can get for him right now. Business-wise, it's not logical to move on from neither this offseason. Next offseason is a whole different ballgame. That is why most teams start planning a year in advance. We don't need to blow it up yet. We don't need to blow it up yet. You do start planning for your future, but you don't need to blow it up to the point where you don't know what you're trying to do. On one side, you're going to be in the middle of a rebuild. On the next side, you're trying to still go for winning games. So you don't want to find yourself in that predicament. Personally speaking, if I'm the Falcons, the guys who I want to take to past the Ryan Julio era is guys are going to be drafting this year. Like prime example, if they take a quarterback at 4, I won't have an issue with it because you're in one of them rare positions where you are able to take a quarterback for your future. If that's Justin Fields, that's Justin Fields. I know. I don't know if a lot of folks got a chance to read up on it. Both Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot was at the Trevor Lawrence Pro Day. I know he had a injury, so I'm not sure if they're thinking that could potentially play into him dropping in the draft. I don't see it, but I also feel like that could also be another sign. What I hope that we're not trying to do is trade up, because as much as I like Trevor Lawrence, I'm not giving up the house to go from 4 to 1. I'm not doing that because at the end of the day, you're not that good. That needs to be established. You're not that good. You're not that good to jump and try to go get, because I don't also feel that you have a generational player in this draft. I know at one point I was saying I wanted to get a pass rusher, which I still do, but I feel like we don't have a generational guy high. Last year, you saw Chase Young. You knew Chase Young is going to be a outstanding defensive end in this league. A couple years ago, Nick Bosa was picked by the 49ers. You don't have that caliber player in this draft, or even if it is, we don't know where he is yet. So you don't want to sit here and take a guy who you don't really know. Your best option at this point is take what you're going to start building with your future. And if I'm the Falcons, I'm starting off by going ahead and going after getting me a quarterback situated. A lot of the mock drafts that I've been following is kind of leading in the same direction. 2 CBS Sports mock drafts. One of them had Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports. Now, this would be the pack that I would absolutely be against. He had taken Mac Jones out of Alabama. Mac Jones is not a bad quarterback. Number 4 is way too high for Mac Jones. He is not Joe Burrow last year. And I don't know if they're thinking this because of Alabama winning the national title. No disrespect for Alabama winning the national title. However, you have multiple first-round receivers on that team. Devontae Smith is probably going to go to the Dolphins. If not, he'll be in the top 10. Jalen Waddle will definitely be a first-round pick when he comes out this year as well. Next year, you have Michi, who's going to be a first-round pick. So they don't have a lot of guys that aren't going to be shorter than the first round. And also, it helps that you have Najee Harris, who has also been projected to kind of go to a playoff team late first round, early second. So you definitely want to be smart with what you're doing. Mac Jones is not the most, to me, it's not your guy that you're taking in the first round. If you're going to take him in the first round, straight all the way back. No point. Let's see. Malik Francois said, Dave, what's going on, man? How you doing, bro? But yeah, that's not the guy I want to take. The only other guy that I've seen not quarterback wise has been Pat Surtain. That's the only guy that I've seen projected to Atlanta outside of a quarterback. I think most people are looking at the fact that Atlanta got to get their quarterback. And let me just kind of go, I just want to touch into that discussion right there, because the reason that we're sitting here talking about getting a quarterback, I know it's a lot of fans who do not want us to move on from Matt Ryan yet. This is the issue that the Falcons are in. Matt's 36. Matt's 36 years old. He has a very high cap hit, and he's still getting paid. Don't get me wrong. Matt Ryan deserved the contract he got 4 years ago. I'm not saying he didn't. However, you cannot keep investing big money into a quarterback when the rest of your team is awful. Because at this moment, only thing we have in place is we have an outstanding linebacker in Deion Jones. We have Grady Jarrett. We have Foye Oluokun. He's coming on as a linebacker as well. You got AJ Terrell. You got a few pieces that can be your post-Ryan era Falcon guys that can go deeper into their career here. But then when you look at the guys who you put your money in, Matt and Julio Jones, Julio has not been healthy over the last year. You don't know what you're going to get out of him next year. I'm not going to take anything away from his game, because when he's healthy, he's one of the best receivers in the league. However, he's 31, if not 32, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's 32 now. He turned 30. As a matter of fact, he did. He turned 32 a couple weeks ago. But he's 32 years old, and you're looking towards your future. He's not the guy that you're looking towards your future with. You need to start looking. You got Calvin Ridley. He was a blessing in disguise, to be honest with you. Calvin Ridley was a blessing in disguise. And honestly, you got you a up-and-coming top 10 receiver in this league. He's not top 10 yet. He may be, possibly. I don't know how everyone ranks him. But Calvin Ridley is an up-and-coming receiver in this league. But you don't want to sit there. He's going to be up for a contract next year, unless they give him a fifth-year option. So you got to start looking towards that. And also, you got Matt Ryan, who Matt's 36. I don't see this. The tricky thing about it is, if the Falcons chose not to take a quarterback, I wouldn't be shocked, because Terry Fontenot just came from New Orleans. Drew Brees was in his 40s. I'm not comparing Matt Ryan to Drew Brees, but the thing that we saw what happened in New Orleans is Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara ended up going on a tear in 17 and 18. That took a lot of pressure off of Drew Brees, and maybe kept him in the league a couple more years. So it's one of them tricky things. I don't really know where the Falcons want to go with that. Let's see. Terror Artist 404 say, "What's up, brother? What's going on, man? How you doing? If you aren't subscribed to him, subscribe to him as well. He does a very good. He discussed the Falcons during the regular season as well, and you may see him play a lot of times with the Falcons in Madden. So check him out." JD said, "When is free agency?" Give me a second. That's actually a good question. It's in March. I just don't know the exact date. Give me 1 second. I want to go ahead and say that while I'm on air. NFL free agency begins. Let's see. NFL free agency begins this year. It begins March 17th. The tampering period begins the 15th, and the 17th of March is going to be the legal. Is going to be when it actually starts. And currently, I don't think the Falcons have a lot of money in their situation, so it's kind of bad. That's the part that's kind of bad. The Falcons are in a very rough position. They are not Ah, we don't have a lot of money. Best way for me to put it. And a couple of guys are gonna be casualties of the Falcons cap situation. I think Ricardo Allen will be cut after this season. Ricardo Allen is due probably $7 to $8 million, and we don't really have an option with that. I think he'll be gone. I think James Carpenter will be gone. Allen Bailey's another guy that'll probably be gone in free agency as well. So we gonna have to get a chance to see what the Falcons are gonna do. Really, the draft is gonna be where the Falcons be able to do their work, unless they come out and really work that cap well and be able to hit the draft hard. I'm not sure. Let's see. John Peden said, I would have traded Julio back in 2017. I'm intrigued to know why you would have done it in 17. Because at the time, we were just coming off a Super Bowl appearance. So it would have been very, very hard for them to make that move. It would have been very hard for them to make that move at the time. So I don't really know. I'm not against what you're saying, but I don't think they would have done it at the time because we were, like I said, we had a high powered offense the year before and went to the Super Bowl. Even though they blew the lead, they had still went. But let's see. Terror Artist 404 said we are not. I'm not looking forward to free agency at all. And unfortunately, the bad part is this is a pretty loaded free agency class. It's a really loaded free agency class, to be honest with you, because in regards to the Falcons, there are guys out here that we can actually use, but you don't have any money to make it happen. You don't have any money to do anything. So we'll just be watching free agency. And let me get this out of the way also. Falcon fans, as you just saw what Terror Artist 404 said, we aren't getting anything in free agency. I do not want to sit here on March 15th, 16th, or 17th hearing anybody talk about why the Falcons didn't get this guy. We don't have the money to do it. You can't trade that away. You still got to worry about a cap hit. You can't do it. Let's see. Jonathan Park said, Trippin, I know what you're talking about. I guess he's referencing the comment above about trading Julio earlier than we did. Let's see. JD Moore, Eagle McGee said, I will say this. There are little pieces you have to complete you need to have a complete team. They have to take advantage of it this offseason. I absolutely agree with this comment right here. That's the issue with the Falcons going forward. You're not and just kind of touching on that. I want to get to this right here. I do not want the fans trying to go all in on competing with Tampa Bay. Tampa won the Super Bowl. Tom's coming back. That group is probably, for the most part, that group going to be together next year. And then you got to take into consideration who else is going to go down there next season and feel like, hey, Tom won a bowl down here. Maybe we can go down here and get a free ring before he walks. So at the end of the day, you don't want to find yourself competing to be just as good as the next team. You want to make sure that you're good enough for the future because the reality is this. Tom Brady's going to retire at some point. New Orleans is going to lose Drew Brees maybe this offseason. They're going to be looking to get a quarterback and build towards his future. But let me tell you the difference. The Saints are in a tricky position because the Saints got a lot of kind of how we got guys like Matt and Julio that's tied up money-wise offensively. They got guys tied up defensively. So they got to make a lot of moves as well. But for certain pieces that you may want to keep, you still got Marshawn Lattimore. You still got Alvin Kamara. They still got guys that they drafted. They can say, hey, this is our future. When you look at this Falcon offense, only Calvin Ridley is the guy that I can sit here and say, this guy's who's going to be with us past 2022. Matt's going to probably be gone. Maybe next offseason. It depends on what the new head coach and GM want to do. But if you're going to go get a quarterback, let me make this perfectly clear. You don't draft a quarterback at 4 for him to sit more than 2 years. If he's going to be drafted at 4, you're going to eventually see him get in the game. I don't know how much we're going to see of their action next season, but they're going to get in the game at some point. Maybe even start some games. It depends on how the Falcons season plays out this year. You could end up finding yourself watching him start. When Matt Ryan came in '08, Matt didn't have nobody to beat out, to be real with you. Chris Redman was not going to start for the Falcons in '08. Going back to '01, when Chris Chandler was our quarterback at the time, Vic came in and he set year one, but Vic also got a chance to play some games too. But the thing is, again, you knew I'm drafting this guy. It's the business. He's getting drafted to replace. He's not getting drafted to come sit for 3 years. You're not going to find yourself in the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation every single time. You're going to probably end up moving him. Let's see. J.D. Warren, Eagle McGee said, how do you feel about drafting another cornerback? I want to draft another cornerback, and it better not be in the first round. I'm not drafting in the first round at all. Because at the end of the day, you need to go for what you need most. That's not a corner. It's not I need to get him in the first round. Because you also got to take into consideration what is new coordinator Dean Pease and Arthur Smith. What do those guys what type of corner fits their system? What type of player is going to fit their system? Because it's not just about going to get Pat Surtain is not a bad option to pair up with AJ Terrell. But at the end of the day, if I can go get me Justin Fields, I'm not going to get Pat Surtain over Justin Fields. I'm just not going to do that. But I think they will draft a corner in this draft to pair up because you do need to address your secondary. Let's see. Dominique Lee said the Falcons need to get rid of everybody with value for some picks and get rid of those bad contracts. Just rebuild, keep Calvin Ridley low. That is what I want to see eventually play out. I don't know how much can be done this offseason, but by next offseason, I want to see that happen. I want to see us start looking at guys that don't carry value for the future. Because at the end of the day, the Falcons don't really have. I am the biggest fan. Y'all know I'm one of the biggest fans you'll find. But that window is over. That Super Bowl window has closed for me. It closed 2 years ago. And to me, you can't keep chasing 16. You can't keep chasing 17. It got to be a situation where the Falcons start looking towards we trying to run this division in 22, 23, 24. That's what I want to start seeing. Because if you're going to get back to the squad that you were that won a championship, that went to the NFC championship game in 16, and went and nearly won a Super Bowl in 2016, you are not going to be able to get back there that way. And I actually it's funny that we're talking about this because I think the problem for a lot of the fans is this. It's no disrespect to Matt Ryan of why we want to get a quarterback. No disrespect to him at all. The reason I want to move on from him, Julio, in that era is because 6 years ago when we got Dan Quinn, Matt was 29 going on 30. Julio was in his mid-20s. The Falcons they were young. Technically speaking, they were still pretty young for NFL standard. You still had those guys to build around. That's not the case now. Matt's 36 and Julio's 32. And the physical type of receiver that Julio is, I'm not saying that his value's gone. It's not. But at the end of the day, Julio is not going to continue to produce at the level of 3 to 4 years ago if he continues to stay hurt. So why not get out of that contract when you can? Let's see. John said the reason I would have traded him at the time is you could have got back a lot as far as draft picks and cap relief. Julio has always been injury prone. I believe he was playing injured in the Super Bowl against New England. Why invest millions of dollars into a superstar if they can't stay healthy? That is, let me address that. Julio played that whole NFL Super Bowl run with a turf toe, but he was still producing. You're not going to find that nowhere. And honestly, at that time, Julio Jones was a monster for us. I'm not moving on from Julio Jones at that time. I get exactly what you're saying, but at the time, you're not breaking up a team that just won the NFC title game and nearly won the Super Bowl. You're not going to break it up at the time. And the thing is, his numbers is kind of like with Matt Ryan. It's kind of like the same argument with Matt Ryan, where we talk about the numbers, you talk about the MVP, the winning records, and stuff like that. It's the same thing with Julio. Julio's producing. The only thing that Julio was struggling with was the fact that the offenses never really got him in the end zone. I don't even know. Can't even remember if Julio's ever broke 10 TDs in a season. Just to be honest with you, I think the most have been like 8 or 9. He might have hit it before, but I don't think he's hit it in. He might have hit it at 18, but prior to that, he was never like a 10 touchdown receiver. Let's see. JD War McGee said, no, John, you're saying injury prone because of this past season. I would say this: the Atlanta Falcons still a competitive team. Even when Julio was hurt, even when Julio was hurt, we still want a lot of games. We still want a lot of games this year alone. The issue with that is that goes back to coaching. The Falcons lost 7 games at the buzzer this year, or in a blown lead, way, shape, form, or fashion. I agree they were still a competitive team this year. However, you were competitive enough and you went to 4-12, which is why you get the best talent available that you can get. If that's a quarterback, then that's what you go for. Let's see. This has actually brought a good conversation up. See, Jonathan Parsons, I see what you're saying, bro, but Julio was off the charts. There was no way we were giving up on him in cap space drafts or not. Absolutely. There was no way you were trading the best receiver at that time in the league. We were all going for, we were definitely all sitting here screaming, hey, Julio's going for, he's the best receiver in the league. We were all arguing about how much they disrespected Julio, honestly. So we didn't need to break that up. And honestly, where were you gonna trade him to? The first thing they did was rip us a new. We're trading Julio Jones in the Super Bowl. To be honest, he made one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history. Unfortunately, Shanahan and the offense just fell apart. But you weren't gonna get rid of him at the time. Michael Thomas, thank you for the stats. Thank you. Also, this guy right here, you're gonna see him pop on my podcast multiple times. He's definitely going to be on here. We're definitely talking Falcons. Be on the lookout for him as well. He gave me the stats. He did have 10 touchdowns in 2012 and 8 at 18. Thank you so much for that. Because I knew he had hit it at some point in his career. I just know when it was. Dominique Lee said the Falcons wouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl without Julio at that time. And the Falcons definitely not breaking that team up after the run. I agree with you. But after the 2019 season, the Falcons needed to break that team up and rebuild. Absolutely. 2019. But but the one thing that I do and I don't like about Arthur Blank is he was different. To me, Arthur Blank don't have that tight of a leash as he claimed to have. Because as he just said, we should have blew it up in 2019. But the Falcons had a tendency of being fool's gold. They went on a run and went 7-9 to finish 2019. They finished, they finished 2019 7-9. So everyone was thinking at that time, oh man, we weren't that far apart. We had beat the 49ers in San Fran. We had beat the Saints in New Orleans. So again, we were fool's gold to the point where 2020, a lot of folks thinking, man, let's go just get a piece here and piece there, and maybe we'll be a playoff team next year. Unfortunately, a better coached football team might have made a wild card appearance, but that's neither here or there. But at this point, it's time to blow that thing up. JD Warren McGree said, it sucks that we don't have a combine. Will you be keeping up with the mock drafts? Yes, I will. I will either be discussing it on here or I'll be doing videos on my Facebook talking about who are the guys that are currently being projected. I'm actually going to talk more in depth about the draft as it gets closer. But, this is just a start for me right here. But I definitely will be doing that. And I do hate it that we're not going to have a combine because, unfortunately, the pandemic has hurt a lot of things. This is one of those things that it hurt. I don't try to go too deep about the pandemic, but just to be honest, it kind of hurts having it at this moment because the NFL Combine was one of those things where if you didn't have the best college career, if you killed it at the Combine, your draft stock shot up or your draft stock dropped. So That is the problem with the Falcons at this point. That's the thing that sucks with the Falcons. Let's see. Brandon Bolder said, I believe at this point, trading Julio would alienate a lot of the fan base. We're at a crossroad right now. New coach that majority of fans pick. The base is still upset with the PSL prices, them going out of the games. Trading the true fan favorite of the team will probably tune a lot of people out. That is a very, 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 very good point. That is a very good point. Because truth be told, business-wise, it is understandable of moving Julio Jones or even moving Matt Ryan. But he just made a great point. Because to be honest with you, and this is a real deal, another issue that we have with this team. The Falcons have a very bad issue with that new stadium. The new stadium priced out the fans from going to the game because a lot of folks had season tickets. A lot of my family members had season tickets. And those PSLs actually sold. The worst part about it is there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's called personal seat license. So basically, just to give you a good description, and Brandon, thank you for bringing that up. Actually, I would love to talk about that with your fan base. But personal seat license is where you pay for the ticket, your season ticket. Let's say your season ticket is like $1,500, but you also have to pay a fee from for just to have that seat. So that fee got to be paid before the tickets. Everybody can't afford that. That's the part that sucks, unfortunately, with the Falcons. So a lot of folks can't go to the game like that, and it actually hurts home field advantage, just to be honest with you, which absolutely sucks. And I agree. It's already on the fence because everybody didn't agree with that. A lot of folks wanted the guy from Carolina, I can't think of his name right now, between him, Brady, and Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City. So not getting either of them kind of sit right. So that's a great point. Let's see. Jonathan Park said, man, no different receiver makes catches like I've seen Julio catch the ball. He's too different. We better not let him go now either. I'm against it. I understand that. That's a tricky conversation. That's a tricky conversation because there's a lot of fans that feel that way. That are like, man, move back for Julio. That's going to be a tricky discussion to see what plays out over the next couple of years with the Falcons. JD Ward Eagle McGee, sorry, I keep saying McGee, says Atlanta Falcons and Auburn Tigers have the same issue. We had talent, but we can't finish games. We can't win because we can't finish games. That's coaching. I agree. We had a coaching issue big time last year. Definitely had a coaching issue last year. Let's see. Peyton White, what's going on, man? He's a New Orleans Saints fan. It's actually good to see non-Falcon fans tuning in just to tell me this. But he was like, Atlanta Falcons talentless fools go. Interesting point. He said the Saints had to rebuild from the ground up. We had talent, but the attitude they had that talent wasn't right. Cam Jordan and Drew Brees were pretty much the only guys we kept from those losing teams. That was actually the point I was making earlier when I was referencing the guy that just came in here from New Orleans, is that they had to go get pieces to become a Super Bowl contender over the last couple of years. They end up having 2 solid drafts back to back. And I think that's where the problem is to play with the Falcons, because they're kind of in that position of why I said that they don't need to feel like they're just a player or 2 away from doing a big playoff run. Let's see. John Peterson said, I love hearing good brothers who understand the game of football fans, real football fans. Can't stand Falcon fans who blame Matt Ryan for everything. That is a topic we're going to get into later, Sam. We're going to get into that topic later. Okay. Let's see. Brandon Bolder said, I know more than 10 fans that have season tickets ranging from 5 to 20 years that don't even care to follow as much as sad. Yes, that's the problem also. Because the team is in such a horrible spot that it hurts business-wise. It hurts business-wise because the stadium is one thing. The losing is another thing. But the stadium, the price of bad office decisions, that's keeping fans at home. Before the pandemic, this was a problem. The pandemic has nothing to do with the Falcon business issues. That's an issue that they're going to have to figure out over the next couple of years. Quentin Butler, what's going on, bro? He said Matt Ryan stays with ATL the other 7 years before retirement. Build around him. Look at Brady and Breeze. Brady and Breeze were in different situations. We'll see what happens with that situation. I don't know. Matt Ryan is young. Matt Ryan is a reasonable age. However, it's going to be a point where this is going to be a decision going to be made either way. So we'll touch on that. Michael Thomas said, "What are the ramifications of failing to break up?" One moment. Let me go back up. What are the ramifications of failing to break up the team and firing DQ prior to 2020? Obviously, set us back a year. How long are we back contending until we get contending in the European? It depends. It really depends. Because the Falcons have, to me, if you do it right, it takes you 2 years to get back right if you draft well. But the problem is, at what risk do you take a step back? Because the one thing that's funny about the NFL, anybody can get hot at any time. Look at the Miami Dolphins. Miami had, on paper, not that very talented of a roster, even though they had a good free agency. But Miami won 10 games. So it really depends on how your team fits that coaching staff, that system fit and everything. Okay, I like it's a non-Falcon question. Malik Francois said, "How do you feel about the Russell Wilson drama?" In regards to the Seahawks, it would be a crime for them not to get that man some talent out there. They're trending up. Seattle was actually one of the teams I wanted to see make the Super Bowl last year. But I think Seattle needs to address that offensive line for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a very talented quarterback. He's actually one of the best in the league. I'm a big fan of Russell Wilson. I just wish that they would get that situation situated there, get that offensive line intact, and actually add more pieces to that offense, because the defense is trending up. Jamal Adams was a great addition to Seattle, but they need to be continuing to build off of the success of getting Jamal Adams. Brandon Bolder said, "I actually have high hopes for Terry Fontenot." I do too, because I think he came from a good situation. As much as we don't like the Saints fan wise, they actually done a really good job, because for the last 6 to 7 years, we always saying they don't have any money. How are they gonna do this? How are they gonna do this? How are they gonna do this? And they still managed a way to bring guys in. So I'm gonna be intrigued to see how that plays out in our situation. JD War Eagle McGee said, "Here's my overtake of last year. Very bad offseason moves. I have learned something new about football. If you don't fix a small problem with impact." We've seen that last year with the running game. That's been an issue for 3 years, the running game. That's been a very big issue. The small things that ended up folding on that team started the year after we lost the Super Bowl, when we didn't re-sign Patrick DeMarco and gave Matt Schaub, who finally retired, thank you, Jesus. He finally retired after a million years in the league, making free money. He got a free stimulus. Shout out to him, though. But we didn't re-sign Patrick DeMarco, who was a big piece at fullback. To me, the Falcons are best when they have solid fullbacks, when they have a decent offensive line. If you don't have, to me, the Falcons' offense has always been predicated off having a good fullback. When we have above average fullbacks, our running game is much better. When we don't have anything back there, oh God, one of the worst rushing teams in the league. I think he played a lot into this last season, and on top of the fact that Dirk Cutter couldn't coach any running back in his life. Let's see. Brandon Bolder said, and think they think those cheap hot dogs are sellable. Listen, you're right. They think by doing the cheap stuff that's going to sell tickets is not going to sell tickets. If you're not winning, who cares about going? When you got NFL Sunday Ticket, when you got the station, they're not going to be blocked out. So, of course, you're going to sit at home and watch the game. Michael Thomas said, "My Saints family is adamant that the cap space is a myth. Mickey Loomis has done a wonderful job keeping that team from being in cap problems. Do you think Fontenot can do the same with the Falcons?" I actually do. And I think that's a good reason that That's another reason why I'm kind of glad that he's our GM because he saw it with Loomis and New Orleans. Because New Orleans have been battling that cap penalty for a very, very long time. So there's going to be a very tough. I think it can be done, but I think the fans are going to have to be really. I think the fans are going to have to be very, very prepared for whatever happens in order to reach under that because it could be some guys leaving this team that we totally don't expect. Quentin Butler said, "Will Todd Gurley be back? Do you want him back?" I'm split. On one side, I think Todd Gurley wasn't fully 100%, and I don't think the offense was predicated to actually having a successful running back. On the flip side, I want to get a rookie that's going to get here, that's going to get under a running system and be able to be productive for us. So I'm split on that. If they do bring him back, I don't have an issue with it, but I think that they're going to go more of in a rookie direction, more than likely. Quentin Butler says Julio Jones will retire as a Falcon. What's wrong with everyone? Y'all didn't do that with Roddy White. Give that man respect. Listen, the Roddy situation was so different than this. I think in this case, they kind of wanted the fans are just saying, let's try to get something for him while he still is productive. Just think, Roddy White and Shanahan didn't get along at all. They didn't get along at all. The problem was Shanahan wasn't feeling Roddy. Roddy was actually outside of the offense. I don't think, but like you said, the Roddy White situation was kind of messed up because you knew the fans wanted to see Roddy still get the ball. The offense wasn't throwing the ball to Roddy. That's a situation we don't want to see Julio in. So, JD Warrior McGee said that I believe Atlanta will have a hybrid defense, but they will have to build our defensive line. I don't have an issue with the hybrid defense, but again, that line got to be fixed bad. Because outside of Grady Jarrett, there's nobody on that defensive line that scares me. And I'm sure quarterbacks think the same way. Nobody. Brandon Boulder said, me and Julian Robb, shout out to Julian, man. I don't think he's on here, but we have a lot of he'll be on here eventually soon too. Me and Julian Robbs were recently talking about how we dropped the ball with not keeping certain players when they could have kept them on cheaper deals. Brian Poole with the Jets have quietly become a premier slot defender in the game. We could have had him as a UDFA. Could have kept him for the low. Shaking my head. You're right. There are a couple of guys who actually were steals for the Falcons, to be honest with you. Brian Poole is actually having a pretty good tenor in New York, despite the Jets being bad. He wasn't a bad player. But I think at the time, Brian Poole was in the midst of, hey, we don't know what our defense is going to be. But Brian Poole was not a bad slot corner. The Falcons actually did find somebody pretty good with him. Brian Poole was not a bad player. I also feel like we're going to see how this team plays out with the rest of these guys. But yeah, Brian Poole is one of those guys I definitely probably would have kept looking back at it hindsight. Michael Thompson said, I'll take Marlon Mack over Gurley. The Colts have their back in the future, and Mack's coming off a season-ending injury, draft a rookie, and sign Mack to a prove-it deal. That's not a bad option, too, because Marlon Mack's young. And then, as you said, the Colts actually have a two-head tandem. And, what's his name? Jonathan Taylor, and he has the two-back tandem in Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. So they actually have a dual threat at running back. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. John Peden said they need to hybrid that offensive line. It's straight up trash. Oh, man, the offensive line. I don't know what we want to do with the offensive line. I don't know. I don't even know if they want to do with the offensive line, to be honest with you. That's going to be a very intriguing situation to see how it plays out. But let's see. Brandon Boulder said, I like that Mac idea way better than people talking about bringing in Mark Ingram. I agree there 100%. I don't want Mark Ingram a day in Atlanta. We don't need another past his prime running back trying to make his way in Atlanta. So I agree with that. But that's what I want to come on here and talk about a little bit. I will be back on here soon. As I've mentioned before, it's been a while since I've done it. If you ever are interested in talking any type of sports on here, whether it's Falcons, NBA, anything that you want to talk about with me on here, hit me up on my messages. You know how to reach me. I want to salute my Twitch followers who got a chance to tune in for the first time. You will see me going live a lot more often on here. But if you're not subscribed to my YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will have it posted. But everyone have a great day, and I'm looking forward to the next time I'm on here with you guys. Thank you for all the support.